changes in the agenda that probably shouldn't surprise anyone. It's just a matter of reorganizing a few things. I do want to welcome everyone here. We'll have items from council and citizens communication in just a moment, but I want to, on 4 is election results, and 4A is canvas election results, and Mr. Matthews is here from the elections office. We'll do 4B, which is drawing for ballot placement, right after we do C2, which, so first we'll call, C2 is calling for the election, and then we'll draw for ballot. So just so y'all understand that. So 4B is after C2. I know I have another, on resolutions, E2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We'll do that after we receive the budget. And you can see that we actually received the budget as item F1. And when we receive the budget, of course, we can talk about any of those items, and then we'll come back and do those housekeeping items. Everybody kind of follow that? All right. Sorry about all that. So now I have to stop and see where we are. Okay. Election results. So, Mr. George Matthews, if you want to come forward and we'll canvass those results.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. The election was held Saturday, July 23rd. There was a 5.27% turnout for the election. You have been provided a list of each one of the election precincts, as well as the total votes that were cast in the election. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer those for you.
Does everybody have that?
Did you get that long tally sheet? Is that what he's talking about?
It's this.
I have one here. It's a letter. I guess it was added. Okay.
Do you
Okay.
need the results read, or?
I got it.
Mr. City Attorney, we don't need the results.
No, they do not need to be read out loud. We just need to review them, and then the mayor has signed a certificate certifying that they have been reviewed and canvassed. And that's all the formal action that we need to do.
Council, this is, if you have any questions of Mr. Matthews, now's the time. Looks like it went smooth.
Thank you, sir.
And we'll have a runoff. What date is that?
August 27th.
27th, August 27th.
Okay. And I'll probably ask you that again. I'm sorry. I think I asked that this morning. So August 27th. is runoff.
How about the last Saturday in August?
That's a little easier to.
Is it 1 week of early voting?
No, the city or the state rules on election code require a regular term, which is starting 17 days. So we will turn this around and start early voting on August the 10th. It will go Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, a full week, the following week, and then the last 2 days, because ending up on the 23rd of July.
August.
I'm sorry, 23rd of August.
So next
Election day.
Wednesday, early voting will open.
It's at the Patty Dodson Public Health Center in the classroom.
Very good. Okay. Further questions? Thank you, Mr. Matthews. Okay, that leads us to items from council.
I have one item. I just wanted to recognize the police department. They just had their Zone 300 meeting, and I found it great interaction with the officers that went. I appreciate the number that showed up out there and the citizens that attended. If you haven't attended one of your zone meetings, I highly encourage you to go do that. It's a great time to ask questions of the police department. Code officials are also there, as well as a representative from the animal shelter. And so it's just a great time to sit down, interact, and they had hot dogs and popcorn and some water and soft drinks, so it was very nice. Appreciate it, Chief.
How has attendance been? I hate to,
I think just.
Zone 300
This was the third meeting.
Oh, okay, 'cause ours is coming up, right?
Zone 4 is coming, I think, on the 11th of August.
Yes.
Where's the chief?
he's back there.
I don't see a head shaking. Is it August 11th for the next zone meeting? Okay, I
That's what's
Alright.
on my calendar.
think it's August 11th.
There's a head shaking in the back.
And that's zone,
Attendance.
Zone 400, August 11th.
I'm sorry.
11th, high school,
At the high school?
East High School.
East High School, 6
Okay.
p.m.
That's new.
Zone
from-
400.
How many people show up, roughly? Anybody got a number? How many was at yours? Y'all don't.
There have been about 20, 25 residents.
And that's what I'd say was at Zone 200, was about 20, 25 residents.
Being told by my assistant chief, there were about 20, 25 people for the last one. And we've had about 20, I think was for zone 200, and 100 was well attended comparatively speaking from years past, but I don't recall the exact number on that one. And I appreciate the comments, Councilman
Great.
Blackman.
Well, that's up from last year.
Yeah, again, I'll just echo those statements. We really encourage the public to come out. It's an opportunity to engage with the officers that work in that area, and it's really good feedback, and it's good for us to see it as well, so. And you're right, August 11th.
Very good.
Thank-
Thank you, Chief.
I have an item. I just want to encourage people, no, it's not, well, it does impact you, but I just want to encourage people as they use the hike and bike trail to please look both ways before you cross the street. Please use your common sense. Please don't run out in front of traffic. Please look both ways before you go. I understand now why the Stockbauer crossing, perhaps I think a prior council looked at closing it. Unfortunately, the practicality is that people are going to cross there anywhere or anyway. You just got to be smart. You've got to protect yourself. There is a traffic light not too far away that is not too difficult to get to, and that's the safest place to cross. But if you're going to cross, we do have the median, which we built, which at least only requires you to go halfway across the street. But please just be smart, and if traffic stops, remember that you don't have the right of way, so just be careful. And treat it as though it stopped, just turn around and go the other way.
Good advice. Council, anything else? I have one quick one, but Mr. Alvarez, go ahead.
I'd like to pull D3, please.
D3,
Consent agenda.
okay. Okay. Before I forget, I know I saw some Boy Scouts walk in. I imagine they're working on their citizenship in the community merit badge. Is that right? All right, very good. Well, I hope you stay for the whole meeting. And you're welcome here every meeting we have, so, and good luck. All right. Any other items from council? Okay, seeing none, what we'll do is we'll go into citizens' communication. I would like to ask, we do have, is it the director of the zoo?
I think Michael's here. Yes,
Michael?
he's, okay.
If you want to come up now and talk about the zoo budget and kind of preempt it, and there's probably other people want to speak, and they can get ready to follow you, if that's okay.
Since we've started the budget process and tonight's the delivery of the budget, we always ask the Texas Zoo to come in and talk about their budget and what they've done and what they have plans for. So this is, in essence, part of our budget conversation, so council has the right to ask questions under that item. Just out of a courtesy, we thought we would let him go early.
But you got to be nice to me. This is my first time here.
Oh, yeah.
My name is actually Michael McGall. I'm the animal curator at the Texas Zoo. We don't have a director at this time, so it kind of fell upon me. To just give a little update on the zoo, where we're at, where we're going. First of all, I'd like to thank council for the gracious support that you give us every year. We couldn't do it without you. And the extra money that you gave us last year for capital improvements is well used, and we've got our roof fixed and a lot of our infrastructure in the background fixed. Okay. Year to date, we're maintaining within our budget really well. We're staying within the budget that we have for this fiscal year presently. Some of the things that we've been able to accomplish this past fiscal year is field trips. We reached out to 130 groups, over 4,500 students and chaperones with a revenue of about $34,000. Our outreach program brought in another $23,000. And I think it's important to say that this is how we kind of bring people to Victoria and kind of touch the kids, if you will. Other educational programs we offer are summer camps, birthday parties, Zoo Snooze, junior volunteer program, our daily programming, of course, and Girl Scout nights. Our three main events for the year, we have several events, but we have three that we redo every year. We had a stellar year for that. Wild About Wine, we actually had to turn away people. We had over 700 people, which was kind of the max inside of that zoo, but it was a great event, and it did really, really well for us as well. Snow Days, which was this year we started it, had a greater turnout than we ever believed that we would, which caused some technical problems as far as, moving people around. But I think it turned out to be a great event. We had people come from all the counties from around here, and we plan to repeat that this year with a lot of changes and a lot of improvements, if you will. And then the others are Haunted Zoo and Zoo Boo. Haunted Zoo, I'm not sure what year we're in it, but we've seen more people than we've ever seen. We draw people from every county, every town out here as far away as San Antonio and Houston. The revenues from just those three was $166,989. So they're really good, and it's one of the reasons that we repeat them every year. You can tell I'm nervous, huh?
You're doing great.
Yes,
Voice is
I
cracking.
was going to suggest if you could have a snow day tomorrow. It's really hot.
As soon as we put a dome over the zoo,
Yeah.
we'll be able to do that, which my
Understood.
employees actually ask for all the time. They're like, why can't we just move it indoors?
Wow,
Because
yeah.
it's so hot, especially behind that berm. It's
Yeah.
so
Yes.
warm. One of the other ways that we connect and we think bring people to Victoria is we do events like rodeo. We do a native Texas species event or an exhibit there. We saw this year over 2 million people come through that exhibit, and we get a lot of calls and a lot of people come that say that they saw us in San Antonio. We also do a educational event down for the East Foundation in Raymondville at one of their ranches, where they bus in every fifth grader in the valley out to the ranch to kind of explain to them and to show how important that ranches are in Texas. And we go down there and do that event. We take an ocelot because that's one of the endangered species, and we're actually part of the SSP program for breeding those animals here. So we take them down and we actually give classes to the kids about how important they are. And interestingly enough, the only place that ocelots exist in Texas, all 80 of them, is on those ranches down there. Otherwise, they're run over by cars. Zoo development this year, we completed the lion exhibit and moved them over to that exhibit, and then we brought in a male jaguar at the end of last year. We renovated that exhibit, brought in a female so that they could breed. The male's name was adopted by University of Houston, Victoria campus, and is Jax is their thing. So hopefully we'll have babies in the near future. That's also an endangered species program that we're involved with in breeding for. Boy, I'm nervous.
So, well, don't be nervous, and I don't mean to get you off track, but you said you'll have baby jaguars at some point?
Hopefully, yes.
Okay.
We're
When would
we're
you-
seeing breeding activity. It's just a matter of them, first they got to get to know each other and like each other.
Sure, sure. I suppose that helps with jaguars. I know it does with people.
It really
Helps with
does.
people.
They don't like you.
That's a pretty neat event.
Mhm.
Maybe promote that, and I'm sure UHV would love to be, that's interesting.
Yeah, we
That's-
also breed ocelots at the zoo as well, so.
Yeah, okay.
Some of the ways that we reach people, I've talked about several of them already, but the traveling exhibits, camps, zoo snoozes. I've already said that part. Oh, zoo development, that's where I was going. We did get the roof replaced over our administration and our classrooms. We renovated Jaguar exhibit, like I said. We have also put filtration systems and recirculating water systems for the lions, the jaguars, our new eagle exhibit that they will be here this Saturday. So that we'd not, before it was always fill and dump, which was, as we all know, is a huge waste. So we've added filtration systems to several of the exhibits and created water features so that you actually see the water flowing and you hear it, and it kind of adds for a better exhibit. The biggest thing that we've done this year is building a new eagle exhibit. And we got our live eagle permit, and we're bringing in several bald eagles for that exhibit. And Vista actually gave us money to fix that exhibit up as well. We've also been able to repair and replace a lot of our infrastructure, which is in the back end. Last major build that we did at the zoo was 75, I believe, 78. So as you can imagine, everything's washed down every day. There's quite a bit of rust. So we're able to, with the money that y'all gave us last year, we're able to fix up made a lot of those repairs. We're also relocating our food stand to the caboose. It used to be, a long time ago, it was a conservation piece where people would just walk through it. And we're actually gonna move it out because it's right now, we built a deck around it, and it's right there by our stage area. So we'll be able to have ice drinks and stuff like that. Any questions so far?
Your total budget is about 550? Do you know off the top of your head? If I remember.
Our operating budget?
Yes. I didn't mean to catch you off guard. I know, because I seem to
right,
remember
right.
we were about 25% of it, our contribution
Yes, sir.
represented. Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir. Which goes a long way
If
for us.
I understand, if I had to ask you, other than money, your biggest challenges, manpower, things like that?
Manpower, wages, salaries, dealing with the heat. Animals don't want to move around when it's really, really hot. So, we've installed a lot of fans to move air around. But probably staffing.
And the other events in the park always, or a plus, I don't know how much you benefit. For example, the food truck event, you get some benefit from just that exposure and the kayaks,
sir.
I would assume. You probably don't have a direct way of knowing whether or not who's there for those events, but
No, we did see quite a bit of traffic during that food event.
good, good.
That was also the day of our Gator Day. When we had an event come up, we had a group come down and bring some large gators and talk about them and bring them out on stage.
Got a couple of questions.
Yes, thank you.
If I recall, we boosted your budget by 40,000 with the stipulation the zoo is going to raise 40,000.
Yes, sir.
Now we're going to be able to fix the roof.
Yes, sir, we did. We got the
Y'all-
administration and the classrooms building done. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough. It cost a lot more than the estimates we initially got. The idea was to do both of the buildings, but it was way out of our budget. So we ended up consolidating and getting the one roof done.
So you're still a roof away from.
We still have one
finish-
leaky roof, but it doesn't impact our classrooms, all of our education programming. It's our indoor exhibit where most of our rattlesnakes are, all of our scary animals, if you will. It's also where our kitchen is and several other things, but
Do you have an idea what's going to take to fix that?
the other one was right at 50 grand.
Another 50?
So I would assume that it would be somewhere probably in that same range.
Okay,
Any other questions?
council?
Nope.
Thank you, Michael.
Biggest thing is we want to thank you for your support. I mean, y'all have been supporting the zoo for a long time, and we appreciate it, and we're trying to do a really good thing there, and thank you.
Bet, thank you. Keep up the good work.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we are in citizens' communication. Anyone else that would like to come up and address council about anything at all, please do so and give us your name and address for the record is all we ask. And we do have a 5-minute time limit, just out of respect for everybody, so.
Yes, I'm Kim Meyer, 3206 Cherry Street. I'm the Director of Shelter Pets of Victoria County. I mainly wanted to come and just say thank you to Charmel. I hear you're doing a little research for us. And also to let y'all know that we now have our 501c3 status. It came in the mail yesterday. So, and I just came to update y'all on that and see if you had any idea when we might be able to have some meetings and come to some agreements.
I could probably answer that. We had one meeting with Mr. Neal, and nothing beyond that yet, but we will. It's
Okay.
no urging matter in front of us. I can't tell you a date
No,
yet, but
no.
next couple of weeks, perhaps we'll reach out and pick it back up again. Mr.
I'm
Neal's
really-
working on it for now.
Really hoping that we are going to be able to be involved in some of these meetings as a group.
Oh, yeah, and I see no reason why we can't do that.
Okay. My goal is to try to get some of the other rescues in Victoria also involved, because this eventually will affect them also. And so-
Sure. I mean, I think I can safely say we don't want to do anything to impair the good work you guys are doing. We just need to
Yeah.
make sure we,
Yep, we have a lot
Okay.
of plans for the future.
I'm sorry, I can only answer questions. I'm being reminded I can't deliberate, so, sorry. Go ahead.
Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Meyer.
I'm Robert Halpask. I reside at 206 Tracy Lane here in Victoria. I'm chairman of the board of the Bronson Home, Inc. And I'm here to address a problem that a number of nonprofits are concerned with, and it involves the area around the old William Offer School. The nonprofits I'm talking about would be Bronson Home, the Midcoast Family Services, Women's Crisis Center, also the Hope School, Patty Water Middle School, the Parkway Church, and Gulf Bend. And it's come to our attention that there's possibly been an inquiry to acquire a liquor license for that building by the new owners. And we've also been told that they may be even considering opening a nightclub there. This property actually adjoins the Bronson Home property. It's just feet away from the Patty Water School property, and the other nonprofits surround it. We deal with a very vulnerable clientele amongst all these nonprofits, and it really concerns us of what could happen if that kind of institution went into that location. And we figured we better get out in front of it. We're not real sure how all these laws and rules work, but we have looked at ordinances and restrictions, and we're not sure exactly where we stand on this. We're not even sure if all the nonprofits involved, as an example, the Bronson Home, if a children's home is addressed in that ordinance. And what we would like to do is ask the council's consideration to help us with this. We would hope that a liquor license would not be approved for that facility for a multitude of reasons. And secondly, in reading the ordinances, they're very difficult to follow, and we don't know if we have protection from this organization or some other entity coming in the future. And we just need some guidance. We really don't know where to go forward on this. That's all I have to say.
Mr. Halpask, could you kind of represent all those entities
Well,
casually?
we've talked to all of them,
Okay.
and they all are very concerned about it. And it really, the ones that concern me the most would be the Bronson Home, since we touch up against this property. And the other one is the Women's Crisis Center. Talking to Jenny Stafford, a lot of these women, they're abused and battered, and many of them approach the facility late in the evening and they're on foot. And this is, it's not a good situation if it would ever come to be. We don't know if it's going to happen or not. We just felt we should get out in front of it.
We'll get back with you. I know we know how to reach, we'll know how to find you. And so we'll follow up with this and perhaps put it on an agenda for discussion here. Mr. Alvarez?
I can offer one suggestion. If they're gonna pull a liquor license or a beer, they have to go to the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission, TABC, and follow basically all those requirements. And the fact that there's a church so close and a school, and they have to be so many feet away, I would check with them, with
We've talked,
TABC.
we've kind of looked into a lot of that, but it's real difficult to follow, and there's state law
Yeah,
versus versus local law.
Let's save that for, we'll put it on the agenda because not supposed to deliberate too much,
No
but we'll
problem.
follow up and let you know. And we can maybe get it on the agenda here and then all parties can be here.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
What
sir.
was the address or what area was he talking
The-
about?
It's the Triangle Schools, what we used to call
Okay.
it.
That's what I thought.
You
it
know,
was.
yeah.
Okay, William off, the old William.
Okay, citizens' communication still open. Everybody's shy. Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and close citizens' communication. I see no one else coming forward. We have one ordinance without a public hearing.
All right, item C1 is an ordinance amending Chapter 24 of the Victoria City Code, adding and updating fees related to permitting itinerant vendors, solicitors, outdoor sales, and mobile food vendors, repealing all conflicting ordinances, providing for codification and savings, and declaring an effective date.
I move we adopt.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this? Okay. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign? Okay. The next item does have a public hearing, so we'll read it first.
Item C2 is an ordinance calling a runoff election to determine the City Council Member District 1 for the City of Victoria, establishing procedures for holding this election, designating the precincts and polling places, appointing certain officers to conduct said election, providing severability, declaring an emergency, and providing an effective date. Because this is an emergency reading, we'll need an affirmative vote of 5 council members.
Okay, I just want to open the public hearing first. Does anyone want to speak just to this item alone? That would be the time. Okay, seeing no one jump up. We'll close the public hearing on C2 and I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move we adopt C2.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, ayes have it. And then now let's do the drawing for ballot placement now that we have called for the election. Both of the okay.
Both of the candidates are, so if the candidates want to come forward, City Secretary Scarlett Swoboda will conduct the drawing for order of names on the ballot.
That 2A?
Easter.
Just to repeat for the sake of the people on camera, what Ms. Swoboda just said, Mr. De La Garza drew first position and his name will be listed first on the ballot. And Ms. Herrera drew second position and her name will be listed second.
Thank you. Good luck to both of you. Want to add that we've never done that in a meeting, and the reason we did that tonight is Mr. Matthews is here and he knows what to do now. He knows the order, and it was just to make everything faster. We just got it done. But I've never seen us do that during a meeting, so interesting. Okay, where are we at? Number 3, C3?
C3 is a resolution approving the Community Development Block Grant 2016-2017 one-year action plan and authorizing the city manager to submit all required documentation for the fiscal year 2016-17 CDBG program and amendments thereto to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development and declaring an effective date. This resolution does need a public hearing.
Let's open the public hearing on C3 first. If anyone wants to speak to this item alone. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Council?
Move we adopt C3.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? It's already been presented to us, so. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. C4.
C4 is an ordinance granting to CenterPoint Energy Resources Corporation, doing business as CenterPoint Energy Texas Gas Operations, the right, privilege, and franchise to construct, install, extend, remove, replace, abandon, operate, and maintain its facilities within the public rights-of-way of the city of Victoria, Texas, for the transportation, delivery, sale, and distribution of natural gas, containing provisions relating to the foregoing subject, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. This is posted as a first reading. Mayor and council, you'll remember that we went through this process once before. I noticed a procedural error in the way that we had posted notice, and so we're going to redo it in order to make sure that we cover all our bases.
We do need a public hearing. I'll open the public hearing on C4 if anyone would like to speak to this item alone. No one, will close that public hearing and I'll entertain a motion.
I move. Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Are there any questions about it?
I do, I have a question. I know that we voted on this before, and because of lack of advertising or printing in the paper, we're having to do it again. Do you know how much it's gonna cost to do this? I'm not talking about posting it, I'm talking about how much it's gonna cost us in revenue, you know, because we're doing this a little bit later.
Yes, ma'am. The number that I've seen, and I'll,
I can answer that if you
Thank
want
you.
me to.
15,000.
yes.
I plan to make that presentation too. It's 14,000.
Okay, and is that gonna affect anything in the budget? Because we're now gonna be,
And we adjusted for that.
And Gilbert will go over
I'll
that
go
when
through
he
the whole
gets, but
process and show you how the numbers were developed and everything. And I will
because
address
it's
the
gonna be
14,000.
both the 4 cents and the 7 cents, that's the total combined is gonna be the 14,000, or is it gonna be a total of another number?
With the $14,000 effect in the budget, revenues have to reduce by 14. I have to go back and reduce expenses by 14.
Okay.
So
it net
going from
itself out.
2% to 4%, that represents 1 month, roughly. Okay.
Correct.
As I understand it, so.
So $168,000 increase, that's the extra 2%. Divide that by 12, that's $14,000 approximately per month.
And are we gonna be affected by 1 month? or
1
2?
month. Well, everything goes right. We get all the readings. It should go in November the 6th.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Any further questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Thank you. So the consent agenda is just D1 and 2. And then
We have 2 items remaining approved by a single vote. They are first, the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting on July 19th, 2016, and second, a resolution authorizing the city manager to receive the annual Department of State Health Services Emergency Medical Services Allotment Fund through the Golden Crescent Regional Advisory Council in the amount of $12,902 and declaring an effective date.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. Thank you. Now D3.
Item D3 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute all documents necessary to purchase playground equipment and pour-in-place fall zone services from Fun Abounds via Texas Buy Board Cooperative Contract in the amount of $123,477.25 for Grover's Bend Playground in Riverside Park and declaring an effective date.
Make a motion, we approve item D3.
Second.
Second. Questions?
I just wanted to pull it out so Kobe could tell us what we're doing there, this project.
This project is, this budget year, we originally budgeted to do the Children's Park Playground in a partnership with Challenged Athletes to build a large signature playground at Children's Park. The Challenged Athletes program had requested that we delay that by 1 year to because they weren't able to come up with the amount of fundraising that they needed. And so what we did is we shifted this to Grover's Bend this year, and then we'll work on the future of doing the playground for the the Children's Park at a later date.
It's a real nice playground. Are we replacing some equipment already there?
The equipment at the Grover's Bend will be replaced, and what does not show in this picture will be a shade structure that will go in as well.
Awesome. Okay, excellent. Thank you.
No metal rocket over there anymore?
I was thinking the same thing. Y'all
Got a
know.
little hot in the summertime.
And there was always bees up at the top. We'd go up and end up coming down twice as fast. Sorry. That's before your time, Cole.
Okay.
Okay, any further questions? Thank you very much. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Thank you. Okay, so let's see, we can do E1.
E1 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute the Second Amendment to the landfill gas contract and settlement letter with Renovar Victoria Limited to include the addition of quarterly reporting, written notice of repairs, and changes to certain language in the contract and declaring an effective date.
Second.
A motion and a second. Staff are ready to ask questions? Or
I'm ready
answer?
to answer them. I can ask questions if you'd like.
Yeah.
Let me get my list.
Council, the CM1 was well-written. Y'all have questions? Do y'all?
I had just one quick one, I'm hoping someday we'll break even or start realizing some money from all this investment.
With the current investment, we're looking at about 6 years.
And then I'll turn your attention to Exhibit D. You might want to change that date. Find that up at the first paragraph. We're not in May anymore.
Yes, sir.
I noticed that at the end, but I wasn't sure. I think that was when they authorized it, or it said, yeah, submitted to council on May 17.
When you say 6 years, that's at current pricing?
That's at current pricing, yes, sir.
Okay.
We, go ahead, Gil, I'm sorry.
No, I would say we took the conservative side. If you look at the current market with those type of revenue, given the fact it's going to be a little higher in the royalty sides, but I wanted to take a more conservative view on that.
And
Well, oh, go ahead.
when's that 6 years starting now, or?
Yes, ma'am. We finished actually the construction. I'm going to be doing a walkthrough this week. We've already seen an increase in the gas. Gil and I were talking about that yesterday. And so it starts now.
Now, when you say, I'll look at Gilbert too, 6 years, because some of the cost in here we'd have done, whether we'd have been contracting or not.
Correct.
So I don't know that I want to say, you're talking about a gross. That now, like these and I had asked this question earlier, the wells, we'd have to do those whether we had this contract with Renovar or not.
We would have to do, I'm sorry.
I
Go
think
ahead.
it's fair to take some of those activities
Well, you
out of
gotta
that.
understand-
We've already have a net
The
positive.
city decides to move towards the production of methane gas.
Yeah.
If city decided not to go that route, a lot of these stuff wouldn't have been done. We wouldn't have to spend the money. There's a different level of compliance requirement for TCQ versus producing gas.
However,
Okay.
there are some, because we, even with what we've done, we still run close to passing that level of compliance. So yes, some of this work would have had to have been done. All of it, no. But
Exactly.
some of it would have had to have been done
Was it
in order to maintain our compliance. It's totally different running the plant for production than it is for compliance. And compliance, we continue to do what we have to do at the time to meet those requirements. By switching over to production, we're kind of taking compliance off the table because we're far exceeding what we would have to do just to stay in compliance.
Correct.
Because we want that gas, we want it clean, we want the water out of the system. So by maintaining it for sale, we're taking compliance pretty much off the table.
And
My point
Despite-
was you would have compliance costs.
Regardless.
Regardless.
Yes.
Correct.
Thank you.
And despite any disagreements in that original contract, you would do this over again?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, council, is there any further questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? Okay.
Thank you.
So
Skipping down to
E 2,
7.
3, 4, 5, 6, we're going to come back to, we're going to do E7.
E7 is a resolution appointing the municipal court judge and declaring an effective date.
Excuse me, we're gonna, oh, never mind.
Want to introduce?
Where are we going?
E7.
Seven, okay.
That's
All right.
E7.
And I believe Amanda Pierce is here. She just wants to, doesn't have to make remarks or anything, just wanted everybody to know who you are.
Yes, and Amanda's here. Amanda Pierce is the current prosecutor, and staff is highly recommending her be appointed to the next judge for municipal court. So
Now, this term is 30 years. No.
save the fine print
sorry.
for later, so
Yeah.
it'll be a 2-year term.
Okay, and you're familiar with our proceedings, obviously, very well, so. Okay. Counsel?
Move to adopt.
I'll second.
Congratulations.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
8, item number 8. You got the vote. 6-1.
Opposed, yes.
Yeah. E8.
A resolution ratifying the city manager's execution of a real estate sales contract for the sale of approximately 18 acres of real property located on Business 59 to Kala and Al Khatab Investments Incorporated in the amount of $650,000 and declaring an effective date.
Make a motion, we approve item E8.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions? And we know where this is. It's across from the new Walmart. for the public, right. Okay. Good. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Ayes have it. Thank you. Number 9.
Number 9 is a resolution selecting Logger Companies Incorporated as the design-build firm for the construction of the Parks and Rec Administration Building and Maintenance Facility Project, and approving the city manager to execute a contract in the amount of $1,594,364 and declaring an effective date.
Make a motion to approve item E9.
Second.
Council discussion?
Just wanted to thank Mr. Van Gundy and Mr. Kaminsky. They worked awfully hard on this. One of the new methods where we did a design build, and worked with the contractors through different points and got what we need as a minimum to serve the Parks Department in a new building. And it's, if you've been in the old Parks Department, you know that there's not any life left in that building. We've even looked at it as maybe storage or warehouse, and there's just nothing salvageable about it. So do appreciate y'all working very hard on this and getting it back down close to budget. And also want to thank all the contractors that submitted and worked with y'all. There were some very good projects out there that were proposed and some good ideas.
Thank you, sir.
Very good.
Councilman Balknight also served on that committee,
Yes, he
so
did.
he was very helpful. I know
They did all the
Colby,
work.
Colby and John also talked about how helpful it was, especially with your trades knowledge. Very helpful.
Gave us a different perspective that we appreciated. Thank you.
Well, I would be willing to bet of the buildings that we have built in the last 20, 30 years, we haven't had a council member that involved in it, so we appreciate it.
Here, I have a few comments.
Yeah, Mr.
I'm gonna vote
Alvarez.
against this project, and I'll tell you why. While I think it's a worthy project and it's much needed, and I've been in support of it, but I think as we now enter in discussions concerning the remainder of this year's budget and next year's budget, I think we ought to put this project on hold. We're gonna have to make some hard decisions about some needs and wants going forward. This project, I think, could help satisfy some street issues that are pending in front of us. I think taking that 1.5, 1.6 million would be better used right now and in the next budget year for streets, including Woodway, as an example. And while I know it's one of those projects that we've been anticipating, I think our resources, and given some of the budget concerns going forward, it might be a project that we could wait a little while. I don't know where we would put staff. If we need to relocate them temporarily or not. I know they still are operating, I think, in the building. So it's something to contemplate, but my concern is that right now is not the time to do this project.
I was sort of going to ask a similar question. I know that, I don't know the history of this project. I gather that it was put off from last year to this year. I'm not sure how many other times it had been put off. And Councilmember Balknight just made a comment about the condition of the building inside, and it's been a couple years since I was in there. It's not a very impressive building, I'll grant you that, but I don't know about its functioning ability.
I toured it quite a bit. I think when the idea first came up to build a new building, I went over and they showed me all of it. And it's been in use how long? Over 50 years?
Before my time.
Yeah. And I can appreciate Mr. Alvarez's comments. I would say in the last 15 years, we spent $140 million on road projects. Would y'all maybe last 15 years or 20 years? This represents about 1% of that. I don't know that the streets will ever be the way they need to be. I bet if you come up here 10 years from now, none of us are on this council, guess what the number one priority will be? Streets. But we've spent, since the implementation of the half-cent sales tax, I guess that's 20 years ago. It was 96, I believe. And we have plowed tens of millions into streets, and so I think we're making good progress. I don't know if not now, when is my only comment about that. I respect Mr. Alvarez, your comment, but, and there's no borrowing involved in this. We've saved the money to pay for it.
It's budgeted in this
So,
year. No, and it's a
yeah.
cash transaction.
Yeah. Anyway, further comments?
I think I asked last time, Kobe. This has room for expansion. It's not just for right now. We're going to be able to use it for a long, long time.
Yes,
We have
ma'am. The
enough
way
room
that we
for
went through with the design build was the ability to, we built some minor expansion in for staff if we grew internally. And then we also, the ability for the building to be added onto was one of the determining factors in our design criteria is what, how could we expand if we need to? And so there is that capability of this building. And Mr. Balknight may be able to answer that better than I do, or have more expertise on that.
So,
Has scalability in it.
Well, that's
Future
one of the main
growth.
things that I was concerned with, that we would be able to expand it because you're put in a location that, do we have more room? Do we not? But that's
Yes, ma'am.
something that we wanted to make sure it had.
Being a resolution, it's just a one-time reading. It'll go effective immediately, is that correct? So there-
I didn't understand the
I
question.
couldn't hear either.
This being a resolution, it's just first reading only, it'll go effective immediately.
Yes, yes, sir.
So-
We're ready to enter into a contract with
Right.
Logger Company
There won't
after
be a
you
second, third
approve.
reading, so
No, sir.
you're gonna spend the money tonight.
Yes, sir.
So once we make that decision, I think, again, we ought to wait. To look at those monies, we might need them somewhere else.
Well, I believe that the decision was made when we set the budget last year.
But we were always changing our priorities, and priorities are changing pretty
Roads are
quickly.
always a priority, sir.
Okay. Just for the public's, I get asked this occasionally, the location, it'll be across from the children's park.
Yes.
Up where you've got a pile of crushed granite there right now. I think, is that right there?
Yes, that'll be the general area.
Okay, where that, one of the particular state Little League fields used to be.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, council. Okay, so city manager reports, and you've already delivered the budget, kind of, didn't you?
Well, I think, and what I want to do is, we have 3 presentations from department heads before Gilbert starts talking about the budget books. I'd like to start with those presentations. And so the first one to present tonight is OC to talk about the CBB budget. Where's OC? He's always up front, so.
And make sure James has got us going. Good evening, council. I'm here to talk about the CBB budget. And what we're going to do, I've got really only about 10 slides to talk to you about what we're proposing for a budget for the Convention and Visitor Bureau. Brief marketing overview, just where we're really going to be spending the bulk of the money, and then Boot Fest budget as well, request for that. For our viewers, just a few reminders. The CVB is funded 100% by hot funds. Hot funds can only be spent to increase overnight travel to Texas. They can't be used on streets to lower taxes or other things. The Victoria Convention and Visitor Bureau is the only organization in Victoria that promotes every tourist attraction, every event, every hotel, restaurants, activities and events. That's their main role, and we've been doing that for 5 years now. Just a reminder that it had been under contract with the Chamber of Commerce for 30 years, and we've only been doing it for 5 years. And we do have a visitor center at 700 Main that serves between, averages about 2,500 people a year right now. So it serves us pretty well. CVB has a staff of 4. Nancy is our advertising manager. Bridget Postel, I thought I saw Bridget here. She's here. Is our visitor and group services manager, does a great job. Joel Novosad is our marketing guru. Joel is up in Minnesota being honored by DMAI as a 30 under 30, one of a true rising travel professionals that's under 30 years of age right now. And I thought I'd give you a quick update on the CVB director vacancy. We're still in the interview process. Our application process was a little slow to start with, but we have gotten some great applications. We've done, I think, 4 or 5 Skypes with prospective clients, and that continues. And I think we're moving closer and closer to getting a new director. Very pleased with the applicants we've gotten recently. And here's basically what our budget proposal is on the far right-hand column there. We have just a very slight increase in personnel. But you'll see there that our total budget is, we're reducing budget from the whole CVB department, $170,788. From a variance perspective, we're reducing advertising budget $120,000, brochures, PR, leisure sales. Basically, we're reducing some of the area we think we can afford to reduce on. Now, we're increasing our sports marketing. We partner with Colby and Parks on the huge softball tournaments and other events that use city facilities and city venues for some of their events. So we're going to put a little more money into that. And then group sales, also with the new Emerging Technology Conference Center that the college has opened, we would like to spend a little more money in that, basically just trying to attract more groups here. Most of the groups that we market to for that facility make their conference and meeting plans and schedules years ahead. So it's going to be a while before we get in the chain there. But it's a great facility, continues to improve, and we're starting to see some groups go in there. And of course, we also market the community center as well.
And that's kind of like the Vietnam Veterans State Association had their state meeting here. That's what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Those same type groups. And of course, when a group like that comes in, we service them with whatever they need while they're here. Obviously, the college has the venue, but we provide everything from transportation, convention services for them, everything from helping registration to you name it. So we provide a lot of services when those groups do meet in town.
I have a question. Can you describe why personnel is up?
We're just basically balancing, is it some personnel?
You did a regrade.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Yes, we did a regrade on one of our personnel. She has been doing a great job. She is our, we looked at her position and thought it was not, she was not being compensated for everything she was being asked to do as a CVB employee. And she has really stepped up her game. And so we have moved her up a step just in compensation, in consideration of compensation for what she was doing with us. With a staff of 4 people, when we have a CVB director, everybody has to do a lot of work in there. And we thought she needed a little bit of an adjustment, and it was overdue.
And does this account for, when are you planning to fill the director's spot?
As soon as we find the right person, and I think we're very close.
So, how long have we been without a director?
Since March.
So all that money that's not in personnel,
into
why
the
wouldn't you
reserve.
push it over and then decrease your personnel budget?
Well, because next year you've got to account for that, assuming the director will be here
This is next
12
year's.
months. This is next year's. So, and assuming, hopefully Bridget will be here for the 12 months too. So we're funding that salary for 100%. What's not spent in that salary savings this year will just roll over into that reserve. No,
No,
this
not
is not
general.
general fund. This is all
Yeah, I'm sorry.
CVB. So-
Sorry.
It's all hot funds.
I know that.
But where do you account for the cable franchise fees that we're getting at the state level?
For cable franchise fees? Are you talking about,
Peg-
I don't have the
PEG.
total, I can tell you what we get in terms of PEG
PEG.
funds.
The
PEG
PEG fund,
funds, yeah.
excuse
Where's
me,
that?
Are,
PEG fund doesn't go here. It's in the special revenue fund itself.
Okay.
Okay?
yes,
So that's, but we may see some capital out of that expenditures,
PEG,
out of that
yes.
PEG fund?
yes,
On another line item?
yes. Another,
And zero capital expenditures?
for the CVB, yes.
Okay, thank you.
No
Totally
capital
di-
expenditures
Totally
out of
different
hot funds.
budgets.
Yes, okay.
I want to go back to what Commissioner, Councilmember Bucknight was talking about. You were saying that it rolls into the reserves. What does that mean?
Gilbert's going to talk about it. He's got his finger
Thank
up.
you. When this budget was developed, I already projected that the individual would be out, or she would be out, it won't be replaced for a while. So I assumed some reduction in costs already. That flow into the year-end fund balance of the CUB. When we did the next year's budget, you notice that hotel tax not funding 100% of it. We're dipping into the actual reserves of the hotel fund. So technically, whatever it's not being spent in the 2016 is helping fund the 2017 fiscal year. Does that make sense?
Yes.
The reserve is, yeah, the other hot
It's
fund
not being spent
expenditures too.
16, it's carrying forward to 17 to help fund and reduce any transfer needed from the hotel to come over here to fund any expenses.
Okay, and that's what you're referring to.
OC,
Thank you.
Yes.
the personnel figure on there does include the new director coming up, right?
Yes.
His wait, okay.
Proposed budget for next year, yes.
Sure.
That's fully staffed. Yeah. And again, CVB, here's just a quick breakout of the advertising and marketing, sports, the major line items, if you will, for the way we're planning to really spend our money. I will mention advertising and marketing. The vast majority of that is now online. We do a lot of online marketing on various online platforms, in addition to just a lot of online posting in about every social media platform there is. But advertising and marketing, $315,000, sports, 30, brochures, 10, our group sales division, 35,000, and then public relations, we've really cut that a lot. We're trying to pay for some extra brochures this year that'll last us through next year, and just do some things this year to try and be able to fit into this budget for next year.
Can we not get any better detail? That seems, I mean, that's a lot of money. 315,000, another 65,000 in sports marketing, group meetings. Is there a better detail for that?
I could certainly bring something back, sure.
Get a better understanding, you know, exactly what we're buying for this money?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm going to switch over to the Boot Fest budget. In past years, Boot Fest was funded with $100,000 from hot funds. This year, proposed for 2017 is we will fund 100% of Boot Fest, or at least the $100,000, take that out of the Boot Fest Reserve Fund. There's currently $299,000 in that fund. And again, Boot Fest is a little complicated in terms of the budget because it's split over 2 fiscal years, and every fiscal year you're basically paying for partial expenses for one Boot Fest and partial expenses for another Boot Fest. But according to really Gilbert's estimate, we should have approximately $224,000 in that reserve fund next year once we pay for, again, remaining expenses out of Boot Fest 2017 and then partial expenses for Boot Fest 2018. And to give a shameless plug for Boot Fest, we did announce the lineup a few weeks ago. And I also wanted to show you that the brand new Texas Events Guide that has not been released to the public has got a shot from the car show that we had at Boot Fest last year on the cover. We're expecting another great crowd. We've got a great lineup of music. Joel isn't here, but he's our music lineup guru, along with some help from some other local individuals. And we do have something new, the College Football Game Watch. That particular weekend, we have Texas versus Oklahoma State, and we have Texas A&M versus Mississippi State. Whichever one is the day game, we're hoping to be able to draw people down to watch some football. And the actual TV screens that we have will also be used to broadcast the concerts at night, so people pretty far back in the plaza can get a really good look at some of the performers up there. We're expecting another great Boot Fest.
Your budget for this next one? Well, I guess we'll see it later.
For Boot Fest? Yeah. Well, the total Boot Fest budget, let me see what I've got on that.
Without looking in the, I know it's in here, but.
Technically, Boot Fest, we get $100,000. Of course, we'll be using that out of the reserve fund for 2017. But typically, our Boot Fest costs from between $280,000 to $295,000.
Gross.
Gross.
What are they net after revenues?
Well, we've had 5 Boot Fests, and we have $299,000 in the reserve fund. So I don't know if you can go by the average, but last year we put in about $40,000. I don't know, do you have the exact figure, Gil? I don't have that.
Excluding the motel tax transfers, last year we netted about $11,000, $15,000 in deficit. If you include the motel, we came, of course, in a positive.
All right, I'm gonna be real clear here. After revenues last year, Boot Fest cost.
I think around 11,000, without my, I'm
$11,000.
guessing between 11 and 15,000 deficit.
Okay. That's what I want to know.
Almost net, yeah.
Yeah.
Without the hotel tax. But, that's,
Without the hotel tax.
again, from memory, it's been a while.
Okay.
I have a question. On your Boot Fest figures, it says that the Boot Fest 2017, you're going to take it totally out of the fund balance, so we are not going to give them 100,000 from the hot funds this year? Okay.
That's
Just
correct.
wanted to make sure before we go into the hot funds. Okay,
It's the reserve, right?
yeah,
The reserve.
okay.
Prior year carryover.
The Boot Fest reserve.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, I understand.
But that reserve is still hot funds.
Yes.
So it's still restricted to use on things like Boot Fest as opposed to being able to put it into
Right.
streets.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
But it's strictly the federal, the reserve for hot funds, yes.
I wanted to also reiterate what you said at the beginning of your presentation. The CVB is funded entirely from hot funds, not property taxes.
That's right.
Okay.
You object?
Can you say that
Hot funds
again?
Just to promote our
Well, I
town.
just want, get asked about that a lot. Everybody does up here, I know.
Sure.
Not a property tax
Got to
expenditure.
remember what that fund is for as well,
Mhm.
is to promote our town.
Yes.
It's our primary method of doing so.
Oh, see,
Yes.
in here you have probably some amount for the Visitor Bureau Center at the rest stop, right? Is that included in here? or not?
We are going to shut that down. In fact, we pretty much shut it down already just to save costs. And it's very hard to find volunteers. You know, Robert Sarata and a few other folks originally started and volunteered. But we just think we need to spend our money in other areas right now, given the decline in hot funds.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Didn't know you had Mr. Serrata out there. He's a good,
Oh, yeah.
good man.
Out there for a while.
Yeah. He does a lot of things for us.
What were you talking about that you closed down?
We had been operating in partnership with TxDOT out of the Edna Rest Center. We would actually go set up and give away free coffee and popcorn to people stopping in there, trying to just market Victoria to them. And they've allowed us to do basically everything we've been doing, except we won't be going down and giving away free popcorn and making hot coffee for them. But they've allowed us to maintain our brochure racks, and we go down there and refresh it. And we're probably going to pull our television out of there. We also run a video on there about Victoria that's in there that they let us put up. But without the human part of it, we still think we can use it effectively as kind of a regional thing. And not only us, we do have a huge area in there that's for display for our brochure rack and such, but some of the other regional marketing destinations also use it in there. But I think it worked out really great, but it's hard to find volunteers year-round that are willing to go out there and spend a couple of days doing that.
Okay. Anything else, council?
Very good. Okay, the next person is Daryl, and purpose for Daryl's presentation is recycling program. You know, we said we'd bring something back and wanted to wait till August, so we have 4 months' worth of data. Daryl to talk about.
Good evening again. So council asked us to take a look at some options, and what Gilbert and I have put together is 5 options. Now, option 1 and option 2, just to kind of preface this, are pretty exact numbers because these are numbers that we are currently working with. As we get into option 3, 4, and 5, we spent a lot of time coming up with our best overall, because you start to get into trying to plan what people are going to do, and we can to the best of our knowledge, but we're basing that off of what we're seeing now. So just keep that in mind as we get to those options farther down the line there. So option 1 is to continue our current program. I'm sorry, my screen went blank here. That's what you'll see in the current budget when you get that tonight, is that we keep doing things the way things are. So that's every other week collection. Monthly fee currently is $2.92. That's subject to CPI, but if you'll remember, Waste Management had agreed not to do the CPI because we didn't start this till April, so it'll be not this October, but next October when we see that first rate increase. And then currently, our participation is around 69%. We've been at 70 and above, around that 70. We saw a drop, a little bit of a drop, about 64. We're back up to just under 69, about 68.5%. So we've still got about 13,500 customers using this on a monthly basis
Daryl,
out of 19,000. Yes, sir.
you said that first rate increase or decrease theoretically.
Or decrease, correct.
Okay.
Now, one of the things that we've seen, and Mr. Alvarez has asked me about this a couple times, is since we took the glass out, we talked about not taking the plastics 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. What we've also seen is on average, comparing April through July of this year to April through July of last year, it's 55 tons less recycled per month. We haven't seen the drop off in the people participating, but we've seen the drop off in the tonnage that goes out of here. I spent, I guess it was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I went and watched an audit, actually, our stuff being dumped on the ground at the MRF and an audit being done. I don't think, if I remember correctly, there was maybe 1 or 2 pieces of glass in there. It was a very good audit. We were, when all said and done, we were about 30% contamination. It was very clean, and it was a lot of aluminum, a lot of paper, a lot of things that are worth money. So we've also seen a cleanup in what leaves here. Any questions on slide 1 before?
That's a thank you to all of our citizens. Your public
Yes, ma'am.
information is getting out there and they're responding.
They have done a good job.
Great.
It's 55 tons going to landfill, and how much is going to recycling? Tons per month.
How much is going to the landfill per month?
Said 55,000
Tons.
tons?
55 tons.
No, we've seen a reduction of 55 tons a month in average. I would
So it's
say
going
that all of
somewhere,
that
right?
has been transferred to the landfill. Yes, sir.
So what's going to recycling? What's the tonnage?
It runs about 218, 215 is what we've been seeing, as opposed to 273 to 3. We had some as high as 350, 360 tons in a month.
So on average, 218, you thinking?
This year's average was about 220. Last year's average was 55 tons higher than that.
Quickly, before you get off this number 1 option, have we made any concessions, those tons that are not going to the recycling? We're assuming they're going to the landfill, I suspect, most of it. Is there any cost associated with that additional burden onto the landfill?
It's actually a little bit less. It's cheaper by the ton to go to the landfill, so the cost is still covered as part of the recycling. It's just not under the solid waste. We've got and Gil may be able to explain it better, but we've got the tonnage, the max tonnage covered in the 292. So if it goes to the landfill, that 55 tons, it's at a little bit cheaper rate, so the cost is still covered.
Being recovered, okay.
Yes, sir.
Daryl, when you say participation rate, is that people that actually have cans, or is that actually them being picked up?
That is how many cans we pick up. Everybody in the city has at least 1 can. When I look at participation, I'm taking the total number of customers that we have in the city against the total number of containers that we pick up in a month. So if it's not out, we don't count it.
Darrell, one other question. This is, goes to the CPI when it kicks in 2018. And we know we should have a range of what that CPI might be.
It cannot exceed 2.5%.
Okay.
That was part of the contract negotiations that we did last April.
So 292 times 2.5% is the maximum it can go?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Processing fee is a little separate.
Right. The processing fee, it's broke out into 2 things. You have the tipping fee and the processing fee. One of them is subject to the 2.5%. The other is just subject to CPI. Because one of them is on the federal and not the state CPI, the area CPI. Houston, Brazoria area. So we wanted to make sure that, that one generally runs higher. We wanted to make sure that we kept it at a lower rate. So we capped it at the 2.5%.
Okay.
Sorry. Option 2, cancel the recycling service. This is saying that we don't provide recycling service at all. So what would happen here is the trucks and employees would be absorbed in the solid waste budget. The reason for that is we're picking up 13,000 plus containers on a weekly basis besides the 20,000 that we pick up anyways for solid waste. So we've got to cover those containers. The other thing we've got to cover is that there's 3,400 tons of waste that was considered recycling, now it's considered waste that has to be recovered. So when we sat down, we went through the numbers. We looked at what that tonnage would be. We dropped the tonnage rate back to the landfill tonnage, took it out of there, but then also had to carry over the hours that those employees would have to work. So what would happen is your 292 for recycling would completely go away. But what's going to happen is your garbage collection rate, which is $13.75 and has been for a very long time, is going to go up by $1.59. Part of that is when we started recycling, we have added 1,550 additional citizens' homes to be picked up in the city of Victoria. We've never changed the rate because a lot of that was on the recycle side. So we're collecting that. That 3,400 tons was moved to recycling away from solid waste. So we were able to absorb those customers. If we do away with recycling, we have to move that back. Now, the whole thing won't move back because the tipping fee is less. However, it will go up $1.59. Any questions on
Yes.
option 2? Yes, sir.
So using your numbers that you've provided here, that it's a net savings of $1.33 per customer, and you've got 13,000, or actually you got
It's
more than that.
almost 13.7.
You actually got more than that. You got 20,000, you're saying the solid waste fee will have to go up, right?
Right.
But it's just those that are doing the recycling at 292?
Which is currently everyone.
Everybody.
Okay. Well, it comes up to almost a little over $207,000 a year in savings, right? That is what the citizens of Victoria right now are paying to Waste Management to save us each year, putting it into the landfill.
Yes, sir.
So 1 year of recycling, or it takes 30 years of recycling, you told us last time, to save 1 year of landfill space.
Yes, sir.
So in that 30-year period, $6.2 million that the citizens have sent to recycle stuff, that we've saved 1 year of landfill space.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's a good way to explain it. I mean, I can't argue with the facts.
Well, that's all things held constant today.
Correct.
2 years from now, 5 years from now.
I know, but
Yeah.
that's,
Your math is right.
okay.
Option 3, this one took a little bit of work. Waste Management's facility was around the $35 million mark. Republic's got one in Corpus that was around the $25 million mark. We're not as big as either one of those. We went with the $15 million. Now, if we built that facility, of course, we'd be exposed to market volatility. We would operate the center. We'd have to actively seek customers outside the city limits of Victoria to bring us their commodities and hope that we could get enough commodities that it would make it worth the return on our investment of $15 million. And then the city, we go back to taking the burden. If we can get rid of it, we get rid of it. If we can't, we can't. If we can get paid for it, great. If we can't, we're going to pay somebody to take it away. Any questions on the MRF? Option 4, subscription service. This would be an every other week service. Customers would have to sign up for the service prior to us starting the service. As we looked at this, we looked at kind of different percentages and where we need to be. In order to make this even close to being as
Plausible. Plausible.
Plausible, right. That's a good word for it. We need to have 60% participation. Going into a neighborhood, let's say Woodway, for instance, and picking up 10 containers on 10 different streets is not a good way to do business. So as we looked at this, if we get 60% participation, we've got enough people we feel in each neighborhood to make it worth driving through those neighborhoods. The thing about subscription is we're going to be driving past a lot of houses without trash cans out or recycle cans out. That's fine as long as there's a large number of homes that we're driving past that we're picking up as well. If customer participation drops below the 60% mark, we'd recommend that we cancel the program. Cost would depend on the number of customers. We set this up at 60%. When I get to the last slide, you'll see that we figured a price for that. Can you do it for less? Certainly. But I think below 60%, you get to that tipping point where it's costing us way more money than what we'll ever come close to recovering out of the program.
And our current participation is 69%.
69.
How long is the waste management contract right now that we entered into?
The commercial contract ends in 2022.
Recycling.
The recycling contract, we can end tomorrow if we wanted to. We are not tied to a deadline for that. Raymond is here from Waste Management. He can speak to that. We met this afternoon, discussed all these options. And if that decision is made, it's not going to be tomorrow. I'll tell you that. We've got some things, we've got to communicate with the public. There's some things that we have to do. And I have timelines for all these if we get to that point. So I'll move on to option 5 as a drop-off facility. If you'll remember, 7 years ago, this is what we had over on Huvar Street. And we operated that. And there was no charge for it at that time, but the difference is the city just paid for that out of everything. That was at a time where we had brush and everything else was built in. The mayor's shaking his head. We went out and we started saying, if we're going to do this, we need to pay for it. We got the curbside recycling going. So in order to do this, we would operate it. The city would be responsible for the cost to transport it to the MRF. We'd have our choice of whatever MRF we wanted to use. We could send it to Corpus, Austin, Waste Management in Houston. So we could shop around and see where we'd get the best price. But still, we would be responsible for paying someone, if not those companies, to come to Victoria, pick it up, and take it to the MRF. The cost of operations depends on the days of week that we would be open. Right now, we've got this figured at 40 hours a week because for us to figure, we needed to figure a full-time employee. So we're looking at 40 hours a week. Probably would not be open 6 days a week or 7 days a week, but we'd make sure it's open on Saturday to accommodate people who can't get there during the week. The recycling cost would go away, but the solid waste rate would increase by $2.40 to accommodate the volume that we'd have to transfer out, how many truckloads. We will be sending, the kind of the key to this is you're going to be sending clean product. If we've got a box for paper, that's all that's going to be in there because we're going to have an attendant there making sure that you dump paper in the paper box and not in the aluminum box. Such things as aluminum and steel can be taken here to Victoria locally, not have to go to a MRF. The solid waste rate would increase by $2.40. We've got to cover that. We've got to cover the cost to operate the drop-off facility. That employee, there may be some machinery that we need to purchase, such as a loader and different things to move boxes around, and possibly some more boxes to put in the facility. And then we're back at, okay, Waste Management, we've got a load of paper. Do you want it? Well, paper's not good this month. Okay, Republic, we got a load of paper. Do you want it? Well, no, we get the same answer. So do we hold on to it or do we take it to the landfill? And those are decisions that, we will make on a daily basis.
Those are decisions Waste Management makes now for us.
Those are, right, those are made by them. They have to take it now. What they do with it when they get it, they have to find somebody to take it. We don't. So moving to the last page, which is all the options. So we've got them all there. Option 1 is to continue the current program at $2.92. Option 2 is to cancel the program. You'll see the recycling fee goes away, the solid waste fee comes in, but you have a net savings of $1.33. Construction of a MRF, you're looking at about $8.04. That's per customer for every customer inside the city limits of Victoria. Subscription program, at the 60%, you're looking at $4.13. If you go less than that, it's going to be higher cost. But again, it makes it really hard to do because you don't know if you're going into a large neighborhood and only picking up 25 homes, you're burning a lot of fuel, driving by a lot of houses with nothing out. And then you have the drop-off facility, which, you know, you take away the recycling fee, you add the $2.40, and you have a net savings of 52 cents. Again, I'll remind everyone, these first two are pretty well set in stone. The other three are best estimates. Depending on what happens with tonnages, depending on what happens with number of people that use a drop-off facility or use the participation in the subscription, that could change. And I'll answer any questions.
Yes, we did have a drop-off facility. It's very close to where I drove by it every day, multiple times a day. And it always seemed to have a little trouble with staffing, only 40 hours a week or whatever we ran it as. And you'd drive by there and there'd be all these bags of stuff lined up against their gate. The sign says, don't do that. But of course,
some of that,
made the trip and did exactly that.
Yes, sir. And some of that issue is that we did not have a full-time city employee. We used people from probationers, court-appointed. We used volunteers. We had a supervisor that oversaw that, but he was not there all day, every day that it was open. And that was when you're having trouble. We got to the point we were having to hire labor ready to go over there because we weren't getting volunteers. Court-appointed people didn't show up, and it really became a mess to manage. Our goal here would be to have a city employee.
So how many households pay the fee right now, the $2.92?
19,644.
So really, my number where I said 6.2 million, that's based off of 13,000. So
that's
it's really going to be between $6 and $9 million, depending on how many customers you have. But it's closer to 9 million right now over a 30-year period.
Correct. I'm saying correct. I hadn't added it up, but I'm going to go with what you're saying. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Can you, Councilman, can you explain that again? Because I think
Sure.
it's-
Okay, if you go with 20,000 customers, just to round it off, right? And you canceled the recycling program. That's saving citizens, those 20,000 households, average, or altogether, $26,600 a month, not being paid to recycle. That's the net of the $1.33.
Right.
That is $319,000 a year.
Times 30.
And then times 30, which is 9.5 million. So
We're taking out of the customer's pockets.
that we're taking out of the
30 years.
customer's pocket to save 1 year of landfill space.
Over 30 years.
Yes.
Could be more because prices.
And it could be
will
if
go up.
prices change, yes.
Mr. Buckner,
Go back on your slide one more.
Mr. Buckner, I was going to jump in. Refresh our memory, what's the cost to close 1 year of landfill? 4,500? I believe that was the number.
It's less than 10,000,
I believe it was 4,500.
something like that. It's been a while. Yeah.
So 4,500.
So
135,000 over 30 years to close the landfill.
1 year of landfill costs 4,500. It would take 30 years of savings. So take $4,500 off of your 8.5 million, and that's your,
Right, 135,000 over the 30-year period for closing landfill, right?
well, you only save 1 year.
Hmm?
1 year of landfill would be 4,500. The 30 years of savings.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So you subtract 4,500 from your 9 million or 6.5 million or
It's
whatever.
still over 9
And that's
million.
the-
9.5
It's
million.
still over 9 million.
Correct.
It's a lot of money.
That's the savings.
lot of
And then I was
streets.
gonna ask, Mr. Halapaska, I think Blav asked last time about the carbon footprint from moving the materials from here to there, and what's the cost there compared to our savings?
First of all, we've spent a lot of time trying to develop carbon footprint.
Sure.
And based off of where you look, they're all different. Because we have to haul things 100 miles one way, we're always on the losing end of the carbon footprint fight.
And then I was reading an article, does it really take the same resources to produce 3 new bottles of water like this as it would to recycle 1?
Yes, well, currently, due to fuel prices, or the price per barrel of oil, you can create 3 brand new ones cheaper than recycling 1 bottle. On glass, it's a 6 to 1.
But most of the recycling products are subsidized in some manner or another.
Yes.
In other places.
Now, just kind of, the budget that we put together for 2017 has the current program, the 292, but we have 3 budget votes coming up. So you don't have to make a decision tonight unless there is a consensus tonight, but during the budget,
I was taking this as informational and
Sure.
making sure that got discussion out there for everything.
Well, I want to say that I support recycling. I've supported it before it was popular to support it. 69% of our households support it. Sometimes money is not the only issue. I understand that we're in the budget process, and these numbers are something to really stop and take a look at. But there's an issue here that's as big, and that's what's Victoria look like? What does Victoria stand for? What's our quality look like? Are we on the cutting edge? No, we probably never will be. But are we going backwards? Are we looking regressive in what we do? And right now, recycling is still considered a quality of life issue that's the direction to be going. If it turns out in another however long that we're able to utilize, I think products are getting to the point where they do degrade, break down in the landfill a lot more. And if we start seeing some public understanding that it's not as critical as it's been, then maybe Victoria follows along. But I've got a real problem with considering saying, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to look at the dollars and cents only, and we're not going to pay any attention to how popular this program is.
But I think we're spending more energy. And as Dr. Young pointed out, with the carbon footprint for us, especially being so far away, we're doing more harm to the environment by recycling.
I would like to interject.
That's the point. I mean, if it's a quality of life issue, and you really say it's quality of life, and then we're doing more harm than good, and spending money to do harm.
And I would like to interject something here. I know that recycling is very popular. It's taught almost like a religion in our schools. But recycling is more than just dumping it into a green can and walking away. You want to know about recycling, talk to my grandmother, may she rest in peace, mind you, but there was nothing that got thrown out that didn't get used 10 times. Maybe that's true recycling. But the public likes to believe we can walk up to the green can, chunk it in there, and we've done good for the environment and feel good. I think this discussion needs to happen to make sure we're not just lying to ourselves.
Can I?
Alvarez.
I'm for option number 2. I was back when, and I will continue to be. Cancel the recycling program. Now, with that being said, and having a series of hearings and tax rates and votes, and we need to hear from the public. And would love to hear from the public. Last time we approached the subject, we got a little bit of conversation going, not tremendous. I heard a lot of people said, don't raise my rate, my fee. But I think we need, if it's there, God, to answer your call, that people really want to. You have it. Speak up. But let them know the real costs. The real costs. We have made a lot of investment in that landfill and we'll continue to. I think it's, we, at one time, were convinced we were gonna go out there and get a bunch of other markets to come use our landfill. That has never happened, fortunately, for whatever reasons. But, I mean, why wouldn't we take advantage of our own landfill, for heaven's sakes? Save our citizens a substantial amount of dollars. I don't know what that number is because you can do look at it a lot of different ways, but I think there's a serious number out there, 6 million, 7 million, whatever it is. Substantial. I don't want to take that out of our citizens' pocket. We're already doing quite well in that department. Thank you.
On the drop-off facility?
Yes, sir.
So that's about, that 52 cents is a little over $10,000 a month to net to run that drop-off facility? Because you'd have to raise a solid waste fee, 240.
That's gonna cover your extra employee, it's gonna cover equipment, it's gonna cover your power, it's also, but,
Okay.
we're looking at $1,200 to $1,500 for sending trailer hauls to Houston or San Antonio.
And you don't have a location anyway?
We
That
don't.
would have to.
We
So
don't.
the county has one or two, right?
The county has at their courtesy stations, their transfer stations, they have dumpsters. However, I have to remind council, if the city of Victoria cancels this program, all recycling in Victoria goes away. The school district, the county, Waste Management runs a facility that we own. They will pull out of that facility. There will be no recycling, period.
So they pick up the county's
Yes, sir.
dumpsters that have this stuff in it. That's added to the load. The school districts have their own dumpsters too, and so it.
Well, the school district has that Pepsi program, that those containers are paid for by PepsiCo.
Okay.
And Waste Management services those separately from the city. But if they don't have the station here, the transfer station here to recycle that,
Yeah.
that program goes away.
I've been fortunate to attend a school district function at the Fine Arts Center twice, maybe 3 times, where because several of their campuses across the nation feed everybody, the whole nation, and they get that check from Pepsi. And, there's about, how many kids are in there, Daryl? When screaming school kids?
1,500 sometimes.
Oh, I think it's more than that. 2,000-3,000.
This year, the school district made about $40,000.
And my point is, it is a very sensitive subject. So yes, they were presented that great big check for 40 grand, and not that I don't know how much that factors into it, but we have put a great deal of education into this. Mr. Hapaska, you had your
I
hand
did
up.
have a question also. We've invested a lot in this recycling program. That all goes away if we drop it. What do we have an investment in this?
We have a couple of trucks. Those will move over to solid waste in order to accommodate those extra 1,500 customers and 3,400 tons. The containers we have were given to us by Waste Management, $1.3 million worth of green carts. We would pick those up until we decide what we're gonna do with them. I mean, there's options. We could sell them, we could use them for.
Paint them?
We could, or if we just may not have to buy carts again for 40 years for trash. Storing them could be fun. I mean, you're talking about probably about 25,000 carts.
Daryl,
Yes.
while Raymond's here, do you mind coming forward, Mr. Franks, with Waste Management? Number one, summarize, what are other communities like ours doing? Because I know you go to a lot of them. Number two, my question is there anybody privatizing this service?
There are-
Entirely, like you guys?
I
Pick it up,
guess
everything.
The first question, Mayor, is every city this year has or is going through the same process y'all are going through. I'm sure you saw something where the city of Houston has gone through this process. It was very painful. Sylvester Turner was in the middle of it. That's in our hometown. And they're paying a little bit more than the price that we proposed to y'all. They've done away with glass. And that's been very painful. But every major city we've bid, Dallas has bid, San Antonio, everybody has gone through this process. Virtually all the competitors now are doing this rebate blended value that we proposed to y'all and that we're on right now. So the industry has maybe slowed down or stopped the bleeding, but there are a lot of cities going through this same decision process. At budget time, there's no way to paint this, folks. It costs more money to recycle.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Do you know of any that have stopped it completely?
I don't know of any, but I'm sure there are some. Some smaller cities have stopped it.
So we'd be on the cutting edge.
Well,
That's what I'm
There you go.
Careful what you say.
you know, as I've told y'all before, one of the good news and the bad news about living in Victoria, Texas. The good news is you're 2 hours away from the major metropolitan area. I consider that a beautiful advantage to this city. Bad news is you live about 2 hours from major metropolitan areas, and we've got to transfer it that far. Daryl's comment about the commercial recycling a while ago, that's just a fact of life in that we use the commercial trucks on recycling day, just like dumping the garbage. Now, instead of going over to the transfer station and dropping off and taking it to Houston, that truck would have to go all the way to Houston. You start raising that price accordingly, and you're pricing yourself out of the market. And all of a sudden, you've got 4 customers left, and you can't afford to service them. So we would very likely discontinue the front load recycling
Mr.
service.
Franks.
Yes, sir.
And I really want to thank you for your patience. It's not personal, obviously. What's the outlook? What work? I mean, I'm not an expert in recycling, but what's the outlook? What are we 3 years from now, 5
Well,
years? What do you see,
you
or what
guys-
can you tell us to go study this more and become better experts at it?
You guys live in Victoria, Texas. Let me come back to you with a question. What's going to happen to the oil market in the next 3 or 4 years? What's going to happen in November? That scares me more than anything.
I'm scared about tomorrow.
I understand. I understand. There's no, if the commodity prices turn around, and we all generally think they will, may happen in 2 years. Notice we don't even say 6 months anymore. It may happen in 2 years, and it may take it 5 years or more for those markets to slowly start turning around. As long as oil stays down where it is, there's a glut of recyclables out there right now.
So who's driving the market? China?
They have been for a long time. They're the ones through the green fence. They decided to stop taking all our culls, if you will. At the end of the line, there's a lot of things that come out. We could bundle all that up for years and ship it all the way to China and still get paid for it. That went away about 3 years ago. They don't want our junk anymore. So now all of a sudden, where it was throw it in the recycling bin, we can get rid of it somewhere. It's not the case anymore. It takes a clean product. We've got to sort through a lot of things to get through that clean product. And prices right now, at the end of the day, just don't come close to covering the cost.
Okay, Raymond?
Yes, sir.
So, your Waste Management doesn't do pickup in any community. That's all municipal? Y'all just do?
Oh, no. I'm
Do
sorry,
you-
Mayor. That was the second part of your question. Let
Yeah.
me get back to that. Oh, no, there's a lot of communities where we do the collection.
And who does the invoicing? I mean, do y'all do the entire project in some communities?
Sure. We do a collection.
I mean, invoicing and all that.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Well,
and-
in some. Most of the communities that we deal with, where they're privatized, we bill the city for the residential collection. A couple of them, we bill the city one bill for all the commercial collection. But most of them are like what we do here. We bill the individual commercial accounts. If we were to take over everything, we would, and in most cases, we would prefer a system where we bill the city for the residential and continue.
Well, and I'm talking about a subscription program. Y'all don't, yeah. Okay.
Let me choose my words carefully, Mayor.
You can just say, we're not interested, and that's okay.
In this market, it would be difficult, I understand.
In any market, subscription service
Okay.
is a very big challenge when you're holding your department heads accountable for the cost. It's a, shoot, when you start trying to figure out who's going to be in. Right now, everybody pays for it, and you've got a set out or a participation rate of 69%, which is excellent. You go to a subscription program, and Daryl's probably going to kick me, but and write it down, put it on film, you're not going to get half that. And your costs are going to go through the roof.
Understood. Well, we need to know that, and that's fine.
Yes,
That's,
sir.
that's,
We avoid those like the plague.
okay. Thank you.
Looking at option 3 of constructing our own facility is similar to option 5 because we're still tied in with market vagaries and other problems. Instead of doing the whole, sorting and everything ourselves and finding markets, we're still in effect doing a similar thing. Now, I know there's a percentage of the population, no matter what we say or what we do or what we show, believe in recycling. And we don't have anything in its place if we do away with our curbside recycling. We need to think about that as well. This is just a discussion.
Put it in the green,
Let's don't shoot from the hip.
put it in the green can and still take it to the landfill.
Then the carbon footprint is the latest buzzwords. I just think about the plain old chemistry. The glass in the landfill is sand, so it's probably not hurting anything. Paper's gonna break down, cardboard's gonna break down. Plastic bottles, aluminum cans, I haven't noticed them turning into compost or turning into methane gas in any quick time periods. And, we've advanced in our culture, and we have ways to reuse things that don't serve any useful purpose when dumped into a landfill. If they had a useful purpose, we'd be composting them and using them in our gardens. So I'm just making another comment on and also just looking at these options. I think I agree with Mr. Holopaska to some extent. I don't think the drop-off facility is the solution. I'd rather do that over nothing, but to me, I think we're really looking at options 1 or 2.
That's
The
where
52
staff would be at. If you ask staff which options, we're not necessarily interested in doing 3, 4, and 5, but, we said we would come back with options for y'all to look at, so.
Unfortunately, I remember when we used to operate that, and many people on council do as well, it was a pain in the tail. It was not an easy thing to do. I think these drop-off facility numbers are optimistic.
Well, and when we operated it, the market was good.
Yes.
I mean, now the market's not,
So we'd still
Let's,
be stuck with it ourselves.
possibly.
Well, I mean, you can come up with rules to just take it to the landfill after a certain amount of time, policy. But anyway, let's kind of draw this to a conclusion. We'll have 2 or 3 other opportunities to discuss it painfully. And I just, Mr. Holopaska, could you have something?
Well, I just wanted to mention, when you discount, keep the current program, drop the whole darn thing, or start these other ones that don't look good. And you go between keeping what you have and a drop-off facility, and the difference is only 52 cents. And I'm not sure that's realistic with the market being what it is. Really think this through?
Okay. Just, I want to try to conclude the remarks, and then again, we'll have other time to talk about it. Thank you, Mr. Franks, for being here. Remember, it is a subsidized activity. This is a government body. We do subsidize things. We're not here to make money. There was a time when it was more profitable. There might be a time again. So let's hear from the public. It's somewhat of an emotional issue. I know that for some people. But it's bigger than just us. It's the school district and some other people involved, so we need to carefully listen to the public probably over the next few months. So with that, thank you, Daryl.
May I make one statement? It's
Please.
not subsidized because the residents are paying the cost of it.
Well,
So-
no, that's what I meant.
Okay,
It
okay.
costs money to
Correct.
recycle.
It
It's
does,
subsidized.
but
It's a direct
it's a
cost.
direct cost to the residents. That We're not subsidizing it through any other
No,
funds.
no, but
Right,
it,
the
the
residents
residents
do.
are
The
subsidizing.
what I
residents are
meant.
paying for it, yes, sir.
Okay,
So,
Thank
thank you,
you.
Daryl. So the next is Cheryl talk about health fund, workers' comp.
Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council. Before I get started, I just want to recognize one of my team members in the audience, Wanda North. She's going to be helping me answer questions. Yes, there she is. Okay. Had to get eyes on her right quick. Okay. Tonight, I'm here to present to you the health plan, budget, and also we're going to go into workers' comp, which is going to be something new. I haven't presented workers' comp before, but there's some reasons why we think it's important to get that in front of you tonight and look at what our trends have been.
Cheryl, just a second, I'm being asked. Cheryl put out a copy at your desk tonight. It's the exact same copy that you got previously, so there's no changes in
It
the
is,
two
thank
documents.
you for that, yes.
Sorry.
So for our health plan proposal, just some things that we looked at. One of our goals, of course, is to make sure that we manage our self-funded plan in a way that balances not only the city's contributions, but also the employee contributions, and continue to maintain what we consider a conservative fund balance, reserve balance in the health fund. Our strategy this year was maintaining that reserve balance of roughly about 8 months worth. Also maintaining city's monthly premium contributions for the employee-only plan. Remember, dependents, employees cover dependents solely. We don't cost share with regards to that. And then maintain the employees' premium contributions. So that was our strategy going into looking at the health plan this year. Factors that we considered with regards to that was a trend that our benefit consultants were telling us to pay attention to was a 9% annual healthcare inflation trend. And then also just our own medical claim expenditures in our self-funded plan. After looking at what our goal was, our strategy, and those factors, this gives you this is employee-only medical claims expenditures and what our expenses have been through the last fiscal years. And you can see what's being expected for fiscal year 16-17 is roughly about a 3% increase from what we currently have projected for fiscal year 15-16. So we're maintaining, if you will, to some degree, but healthcare inflation is still going up. Those trends are still out there with regards to healthcare. We have been making changes. If you remember last year, we got a new network in place, the Cigna OAP network, which I think is helping us with regards to some of our claim cost on negotiated rates. Going into that, we're here tonight to propose
Cheryl,
Yes,
Can
I'm
you
sorry.
back up a slide?
Sure.
And I apologize if you said this and I didn't hear it, but the 14-15 spike, you had a couple of high-profile, expensive claims? Is
We
that-
did, yes, sir.
Okay.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you would have expected that to be taking those out in between the 13, 14, 15, 16?
Well, we also had a different network during that year too. We actually were working with Aetna's network, so some of your negotiated rates could probably be factored in there with regards to claim cost as well.
Okay, thank you.
So going into that, we're here tonight to propose no premium increases in the monthly premiums for plan year 2017. We are not proposing any premium increases for our medical premiums for retirees under the age of 65, and no premium increases to our dental premiums. And we're also not going to be recommending any plan design changes for our dental plan. So that would stay the same as it is today. However, we are going to be proposing some changes to the medical plan design, and again, being sensitive to the 9% trend component in some of our expenditures with regards to our claims. And I'll talk a little bit about what those changes are going to look like. We are offering 4 new voluntary benefits for employees. We often get asked certain benefit plans, is the city going to offer these? Remember, voluntary benefits is at no cost to the city, but if the employee elects that, there's payroll deductions that happen with regards to that, and we just help facilitate that. But the 4 new voluntary benefits is legal shield and identity theft, critical illness, accident medical, and then another life insurance, but with this one, it comes a long-term care. And these will go alongside our current benefit offerings if the employee decides to select those. Okay? And it is to the cost of the employee, not to the city. And as last year we communicated, we're moving forward with an online benefits enrollment tool. We've been working on that this year with regards to getting it implemented. We will be rolling that out for annual enrollment, which is going to be in October this year with that tool. And we need to continue to do education. Healthcare consumerism has got to be our focus, as well as effects of preventive health, educating our employees about what it means going to, the emergency room versus an urgent care facility, even education on prescription medications, using generic over brand. So that education component continues to be key for us. This is current plan year 2016, and it stays again the same for plan year 2017. We are not proposing premium increases. This is the employee-only plan. So you can see the traditional PPO plan, which that plan, if you remember, has co-pays associated with it. We also have the high deductible health plan, which is first dollar for employees to cover, but they then can contribute to an HSA account, health savings account. So you see the numbers of enrolled, and then the total monthly premium is up there for you to look at, and then how that breaks down between the city's contribution and then what the employee pays per month. So for plan year 2017, for the PPO plan, it'll be $132 a month for an employee only, which is biweekly $60.92. For the high deductible plan, per month, it'll be $97.97, which is $45.22 biweekly.
That was the same as last year,
Yes, sir.
including the cost allocation?
Yes, everything stayed the same. So the cost allocation is $76.24 for PPO and $80.20 for high deductible. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
High deductible health plan, this is our second year offering that?
Third year.
Third year.
Yes, sir.
We have 84.
We do.
Trending upwards, is it?
It is. Yes. We had roughly increase of 37 from plan year 2015 to 2016.
Younger employees, you think? Some younger ones?
I think so, but I think also just the education of the high deductible plan and what it provides. Folks begin to start talking about the use of that plan and, again, education. So I think it's a mix, but it's definitely attractive, I think, to, some of the younger workforce that we've got hired in. They're used to seeing those high deductible plans. Okay. Any other questions on this slide? So this just gives you an overview of the different tiers that we have. I just went through employee only, but we also have employee plus children, employee plus spouse, and employee plus family. These are all pre-tax biweekly amounts, but I did include the monthly amount so you can sort of see the breakdown of that. And again, these are the exact same amounts that we have for this current year with no increases for 2017. So I mentioned to you that we are going to be proposing some plan design changes. The plan design changes that we're proposing close in on that 9% trend, about 5.5%. So we don't necessarily get the complete 9%, but with these changes, we believe we're moving forward, which is important for us in this healthcare arena to do. Employees still pay the full cost of the dependent coverage. It is voluntary enrollment, and our medical coverage does begin first day of employment. So in the PPO plan, you're familiar with co-pays with this plan. We're proposing that we raise our current in-network primary care physician copay from $35 to $40, which is a $5 increase. The copay for in-network specialist is currently at $50. We're proposing $60, which is an increase of $10. The annual individual deductible for this plan is $1,250. We're proposing to raise that to $1,500, which is a $250 increase. The annual family deductible is $3,750. We're proposing $3,950, which is an increase of $200. There will not be a change in the in-network coinsurance. So this is the percent of expenses paid after a deductible is met. So 80% is what that coinsurance is. So no change there. However, a significant change with regards to out-of-network coinsurance. If an employee with the rich Cigna OAP network that we have chooses to go outside of network, then there will not be a benefit paid for that. And that is their decision. But we believe our network is rich enough, and if it's an emergency situation, that's an exception, obviously. If it's emergency and they go to a provider that's not in network, that would be covered as in network. And we also have a 60-mile radius exception. If there's not a specialist or a doctor within 60 miles and they have to see an out-of-network, that would also be covered as in network. But otherwise, if they make a decision to go outside of the network and there's a provider in network that they could see, then it's going to be no co-share, so no benefit.
What happens if you're on vacation and no network provider? Is that an exception?
That would be an exception with regards to that. But again, that Cigna OAP network, I'm told, is the second largest network behind Blue Cross Blue Shield in the nation. So chances are we've got a provider somewhere where you're going.
I'll be in Mexico, though.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure that it reaches out that way, so, yeah.
Good luck.
Back.
Question, Mr. Alves?
Yes, I've been reading some articles and various changes under the Affordable Care Act and so on. Obamacare, however you wish to address it. And one of them was that people are pulling out of the PPO plans. That's a national trend. We're staying with our PPO plan for the time being.
Yes, sir. We are continuing to offer choices to our employees with regards to the health plans that we have.
I just want to comment because I've seen this plan for a while now. And I've looked at other plans. The city's plan is very generous and not that our employees don't deserve it, but sometimes when it's a benefit that's given to an employee, they take it for granted and don't recognize that it really is a very generous plan. And I'd just like to compliment you on that, but remind all of our employees.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So the last thing on this chart has to do with the hospital deductible change. Currently, there is a $250 copay if you're admitted into the hospital. We're proposing that we raise that to $500, which is an increase of $250. With the high deductible health plan, again, remember employees pay the full cost of the premiums for dependent coverage. It is still a voluntary enrollment. Medical coverage begins day one of employment. Offering a high deductible health plan then allows us to also have a HSA or a health savings account, but there are no copays with this plan. So those new members to the high deductible plan sometimes get sticker shock when they go fill a prescription or go to the doctor's office because they're paying that first dollar till they meet that deductible. So the annual deductible, individual deductible for this plan is currently $2,500. We're proposing raising that to $2,600, which is a $100 difference. The annual family deductible, we are not proposing any changes, so it stays at $5,000. And the co-insurance, which was, again, the percent of expenses paid after that deductible is met, remains at 100%. So employees in this plan who then hit that first dollar and they reach the $2,600, then expenses after that that are in network potentially are covered at 100%. On the prescription health plan, which ties to our medical, I've got both the PPO and the high deductible and what that would look like. For the PPO, we're proposing increases to copays. For a generic copay, it's currently $10. We're wanting to increase that to $15, which is a $5 difference. A preferred brand copay would be $25 currently. We want to increase that to $35, which is $10 increase. And a non-preferred brand copay is currently $50, and we're proposing raising that to $75, which is a $25 increase. Again, the high deductible does not have copay, so they have to meet to that deductible of what we're proposing is $2,600, and then the plan will cover 100%, and that includes prescriptions. Any questions on the plan design changes being proposed?
Let me understand. How did you come up with the proposed numbers? Based on that 9% trend, growth trend, or how did y'all arrive at those numbers?
So the differences, the increases?
Yes, on
Yeah.
on everything, your proposed increases. How
Some
did
of
you
it's
arrive?
some of it's working with our consultants on what's going on out there, what potentially could be seen in the marketplace around those types of things. Others is, what our experience has been in regards to the inflation of medical costs, what our experience has been with regards to prescription medications, for example, that are brand versus generic. So a lot of different things I think looking into.
Well, your generic copay on prescriptions is from 10 to 15, that's 50% increase. Is that correct?
And our medical expenses overall, I think especially from a prescription standpoint, you've got our top 25 drugs, 21 of those are brand names versus generic. So, and inflation, I can't get away from that. Everything is costing more with regards to even prescriptions and medical tests, office visits, procedures.
You're forecasting, and you're addressing your goals and your strategy.
Yes,
All
sir.
factors in, you need to keep 8 months of a reserve balance. Yeah,
Exactly.
forecasting based on historical numbers. I mean,
Exactly.
that's what we pay that consultant for, too.
So your 25 top used medications, your top 20 are all brand name.
Mhm.
What's the average between
And
those
that
top 20?
cost, the average cost of those, I think it was, let me look right quick. I do have that number somewhere. So the average cost for the top 25 drugs was around $1,100. That's total, 25 drugs. Average paid per prescription was about $1,100. And that's the total cost. So not employees' cost, but total cost of the drugs.
Yeah, I guess I was asking, if you look at those top 20 brand name drugs, what's the average price of them? And you're recouping $35 out of $80 bottle
Exactly.
or a $120 bottle or sometimes $250 bottle.
Exactly. So when the employee goes to the pharmacy now to pick up their brand, they will be paying $35, where the city then is absorbing the rest of the cost. So say it's a $200 drug, then the plan that the city has, our self-funded plan, will cover the rest of that cost.
Right.
Part of looking at the health plan and realizing we were projecting a 9% inflation, you have to look at, okay, you're either going to cover that difference with premium increases, or you look at plan design, because some way we've got to try to balance that difference. And we decided to go the plan design route. So not all employees are taking a hit every payday. They're increasing their output if they actually use the drugs and the medical services. And that's how we kind of came to that conclusion of doing the plan design versus the premiums.
What I was trying to do with that comparison was show that $10, I wouldn't say was just the $10, counted as the increase from the 35 to 25, but overall, that price of the medication, what's that $10 really a percentage of, and what was the
Our difference
proposed
could be
increase?
$25.
Dramatically,
Right.
yes.
We could be absorbing even more, or just.
Well, yeah, and the prescription, and I could go back and look at that, a prescription last year is probably gone up this year by, $100, $150. So the employee is still paying $10 for that currently for a generic, and we're looking to increase that by $5. Yeah.
On a personal basis, I'm going through this same painful exercise, and this actually looks real good compared to what I'm looking at. And Jeff probably has the
Yes.
same, I guess he and I probably are the only two on council today.
No, I haven't.
No.
Actively, you have to actively deal with it, well, then you know how much fun it is.
Yeah.
And what
I can
stinks
see from
about it
both
is,
sides.
8 years ago, these costs weren't there, and it was a much better deal. And I'm not trying to tie it back to any administration. or
I
any
will
past
say
things, but
that
I'm
I
just
don't see,
saying.
I have not gotten a 9% increase.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm getting negatives from the government from that standpoint. So somewhere that money is going. Cost of medicine is rising, but all of us physicians are making no more. We're working harder, but seeing less for our value. So I don't know where the money's going.
Well, since, we're
I'll get off that soapbox.
we're self-insured,
Sir.
And all these guys are probably on this insurance. And we all have a reason to, when I say, in the example a while ago about the difference of $10, and I understand what Councilman Bachnight was saying, and I said, well, we absorb the difference, even if it's greater. That's all of us.
Mhm.
And our goal is to preserve this for everyone.
Mhm.
That's what you're doing, so I appreciate it. Anyway. just wanted to-
All in all, it's an excellent program compared to
Yes.
what I'm looking at.
Yes, and the
Well, that should be demonstrated. What is, okay, go out in the market on your own and see what you can get.
Yeah.
$10,000 deductibles.
Boom.
Yeah, the
$10,000 deductibles is what I'm seeing,
Yeah.
and for some patients.
Yeah, when it says high deductible plan on here,
Sweet.
That's not high.
Okay, so.
Okay, so just a side-by-side comparison, I'm sorry.
Hang on,
Any,
Cheryl.
No, I was just gonna comment that I thought that your reasoning behind where to focus the increases was very smart.
Thank you.
So the side-by-side comparison for employee only, for the PPO, then it would be a biweekly premium of $60.92 with co-pays being proposed at 40 and 60, 40 for the primary, 60 for the specialist, an annual deductible of $1,500, and coverage after deductible would be 80% in network. High deductible, $45.22 biweekly. There is no copay. $2,600 is what we would be proposing. That's an increase of $100. But after you meet that deductible, in-network coverage is at 100%. Any questions on the health fund before I move on to workers' compensation?
those deductions are stuff I was seeing 8, 9 years ago, in my business.
And one of the things, there is an advantage to be a self-funded insurance program, you know, versus out in the private sector market with insurance
Most
companies.
definitely, yes.
I have a question. On the offer for the 4 new voluntary benefits for employees, that's only for employees, right?
Families will be included in that as well. So if a member decides that they want to enroll either their spouse or children or family, then of course the cost would be associated with that, but they would have that option.
Okay. In either one of those categories, those 4 categories?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Oh, sure, one more question. And that's available to retired employees or not? Those 4
The
volunteers?
voluntary benefits,
It's just actives. I'll
yeah,
answer
just
that. It's just
active
actives.
employees, yes.
Just active employees?
Yes.
Oh, come on,
Thank you,
Cheryl.
Sharmell. I was thinking through that.
Okay.
The, oftentimes, and don't be surprised if we see it in the future, we get asked about pet insurance. It didn't make this cut, but it might be coming, so I'm just throwing that out there as future reference. So, transitioning from healthcare to workers' compensation, this is an internal services fund. We have experienced some significant claims with regards to workers' compensation, which is why I'm bringing this to you tonight to sort of see what our trends are. Just to give you some background on workers' comp, since October 1st of 1989, the city's been self-insured with regards to its workers' comp fund. TML, which is Texas Municipal League, currently serves as our plan administrator. The city departments contribute funding to this internal service fund, so it's spread out. And another important fact is $1 spent in workers' compensation competes with $1 in other funds. So that's why it's important for us to pay attention to this with regards to that. $1 spent here takes it away from another fund. The importance of it, of course, is to protect our employees who receive an injury or illness sustained in the course and scope of their employment. Subscribing as an employer to workers' compensation puts limits set in by the law on the amount and type of compensation that an injured employee may receive. And TML helps us with regards to monitoring what those limits are. Under the current view, we have $134 roughly $1,000 increase in our workers' compensation claims. We have 45 current open cases. Costs are due again to that healthcare inflation, because what we're seeing on the medical side with inflation, we also see on the workers' comp side with medical care costs and such. And then we've had some significant high dollar claims that have got us into the 6 figures with regards to the medical care and potential lost wages that they've had. We are working on, as always, preventing our injuries and illnesses in the workplace. We have accident reporting that has to be done within 24 hours. We do offer modified work, which might also be considered light duty. We make sure that we try to get the employee back to work as soon as we can, as long as the doctor is recognizing and approves that. We strive to have that proactive safety culture. So we do key learnings, we do investigations when it comes to injuries and illnesses, track trends, and do education for our supervisors, our leadership, and our employees. We do engage employees throughout the workers' comp process. We try to stay more engaged with them, especially if they're off at work for a period of time. We try to engage them on what's going on. How long do you think you're going to be out? You know, can you provide us with the documentation from your doctor? So we stay on top of that versus just they're out and we don't know where they're at. If they're out for a long period of time, we're staying engaged with them through that process. And that helps too with regards to them bringing back to work sooner. And then if we feel like we have a fraudulent claim, we do request TML to investigate that to protect the city. So here's a chart that then breaks out where our claims expenditures have been. And one caveat with this chart is in a minute, I'll show you the number of claims per fiscal year, and that doesn't match up with this dollar amount, because remember I mentioned we had 45 open cases. Some of those cases could be dated back in the 80s, but we're still incurring some cost associated with that workers' comp claim. Like, for instance, lifetime medical or survivor benefits or whatever the case might be. So this isn't going to necessarily match up with regards to the claim number, but you can see sort of the medical costs back in fiscal year 11-12, we're hitting that range again for 15-16 as projected expenditures. I mentioned inflation. I think some of that has to do with it, but I also mentioned we had some pretty high-level claims that are hitting as well. And some of those happened in fiscal year 14-15, but we're starting to see the expenses coming in 15-16. So here's some information provided to us by TML. It breaks out the last fiscal years. For 15-16, we have 63 claims, which is lower than our previous years. All total for the last 3 fiscal years, 237 total claims were filed. And you can see then the open claims dollars that are there. So what's expected to be paid out, what has been paid out, and what's still outstanding with regards to, we know there's medical expenses out there, they just haven't been paid yet. That number looks pretty good for 15-16, but if we bring it back next year, I promise you some of those claims are going to hit for the following year. And you can see a breakdown of the 45 cases. And again, some of those are dated back as in the 80s. So here's the number of reported claims that we've had. Just another look at from fiscal year 11-12 and an annualized number for our current fiscal year. So although we're doing better on total claims filed, the cost of each of those claims has definitely gone up, or the majority of them. Any questions on the workers' comp fund?
That's an internal services fund? What balance do you carry?
I had a year's reserve, but it's gone this year, and that's why we increased these rates for the 2017. I'll talk about it in a few more minutes too, but usually I had a year, and that kind of went down this year.
Which is?
We had about at least $300,000 in there.
So you
I'm gonna use
maintained
all of it.
historically a year. Right now you have?
By the end of the year, I'm projecting to have zip.
Okay.
That's why next year I'm proposing to increase those fees from all across the board.
Okay, thank you.
So just to wrap up my presentation then, if there's no specific questions on workers' comp, on the health fund, we're proposing no premium monthly increases for plan year 2017. We are proposing those plan design changes that I went through to help offset that 9% trend. Our strategy does maintain the reserve balance of roughly 8 months. Workers' compensation, we need to continue to focus on prevention. That's the only way we're going to keep costs down. Refocus on leadership commitment. We've got a new safety specialist. It's not a new position for the city, but it's a backfill position, but a new fresh pair of eyes that has come in and wants to re-energize sort of our safety program as a whole. So refocusing now on leadership commitment with regards to that, more emphasis on education, and definitely an increase in case management, working with TML and those folks that are out due to an injury or illness.
And I would assume you have a good procedure to inform all the employees of all these changes, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Questions?
Council?
Y'all do in-house safety training?
Yes, sir. Yeah. The safety specialist actually goes to the different departments and typically has a monthly topic that will be done, but also can customize if a department has something going on and they want that individual to come out. Now, is some training that they bring in on heavy equipment and stuff that the safety specialist can't train on.
We do all that in-house?
We bring vendors in to do that training,
Okay.
but yes.
OSHA 10 and OSHA 30 classes? Require that of any
We're
of your-
not bound by OSHA from a safety standpoint, although best practices is that but from a municipality standpoint, we are not bound by OSHA requirements. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Didn't know that.
a little unfair, it
Yes.
seems like.
Mhm.
Sorry. Who will?
Thank y'all very much.
That is, those are your city manager reports, other than Mr. Reyna, but I think we might need a break. It's been 2 hours and 15 minutes. Can we is that okay? Do you guys want to do that? So put 5 minutes up on, can you get it done? 5 minutes, Mr. Alvarez?
can do it.
Smoke your,
No smoking.